another MBS Highway live webinar. I'm one of your hosts, Megan Anderson, along with Dan Habib. And today's guest is the co-creator of Neo Home Loans. He's also been a founder and integral part of the Art of Homeownership and the Loan Atlas. He's been ranked among the top 25 lenders in the US, and his mission is to help redefine what a true mortgage professional should be and help change the way the industry views their communication with their clients. And today he is going to teach us how to increase the quality and volume of leads your agents refer to you. Join me in welcoming Ryan Grant and returning guest, Josh Metal.
Megan, thank you. Really great to be here. Coming off the heels of Mastermind Summit last week, watching Dan present on what's happening in the market and what we can expect in the future. There's a lot of energy, right? There's a lot of great energy, and the market is helping a little bit today, which is fun for everybody. So today I wanted to talk about lead generation and lead conversion in ways that most people aren't really thinking of. I've given this presentation now for probably the past 2 years, and mainly this presentation is meant for the real estate professional, right? So I'm going to present it to you today so you can then take it and repurpose it to your real estate agents, because they really need to understand this at a higher level. Right now, they're only thinking of one type of lead, and that needs to change for them and for you. So I'll walk you through that here today. Just want to say thank you to the Highway team here. Our partnership with Loan Atlas and Highway has just been unbelievable so far. The people who've been signing up for the combined packages have been really proud of the work that's been done. So I'm just excited to continue that today. So I will share my screen and get going here. All right. Thumbs up if y'all can see that.
We could see it.
Cool. So I'll run through this. The lead conversion that I'm going to be talking about today is going to allow your real estate professionals to really open up their scope of kind of reference when it comes to what a lead is. So I'll take you back to when I first started in the industry. My business was really grown through going to open houses, meeting agents, talking to buyers at open houses. That's really all I knew to do. This was back in 2011. Now, the first few times I sat through open houses, I really was curious as to why things were happening the way they were happening. So I was at an open house with a woman realtor that I had just started working with. And again, this was all new to me. And there was a lady who walked in, and the agent said, "Oh, can I help you?" She goes, "No, I live down the street. I'm not planning on doing anything. I'm just here to look at the home." And she goes, "Okay, take a look around. Let me know if you have any questions." And I thought, that's interesting. If somebody doesn't want our product, which is a home or a mortgage, then I guess we don't engage with them at all. We just let them go. And that was curious to me. I was like, it feels like there's got to be something more we could do there. But again, I was new, right? You can't connect the dots looking backwards. You can only connect them looking forwards. So later on in the open house, an older couple came in, and she said, "Oh, are you guys looking to buy a home?" And they go, "Oh, we're really not sure. We're kind of out here just looking to see what's available, but we're not really ready yet." And she goes, "Okay, well, here's a business card. If you need anything, let me know." And I thought, okay, so if someone's not sure, or if someone's not ready, then I guess they get a business card, right? I guess that's all we do, right? We just hand them a business card and hope that they call us one day. And then later on in the open house, a younger couple comes in. And she asks, "Are you guys looking to buy a home?" They go, "Oh, yeah." And she goes, "Oh, are you pre-approved?" And they go, "Yep, we're pre-approved. We're ready." And then you could see her wheels turn on, right? At that point, it was like, okay, here's now a real lead that I should pay attention to and that I should, try and convert in some way, right? So she went all in and exchanged phone numbers and talked about following up. And I said, okay, well, I guess really the only time that real estate professionals are engaging is when someone says that they're ready. And it's time to do that now. And again, I didn't think anything of it because I was new, but when I look back, I realize what a waste of opportunity that there has been in this industry for so long, because we need to reimagine what a lead really is. So what I would encourage all my real estate agents to do is I would say, hey, Jimmy, one of the agents that I worked with for so long, I say, Jimmy, what do you consider an actual lead in your day-to-day business? Right. And the answer is typically always, somebody who wants to buy or sell a house. And I said, well, what if they're not ready to buy or sell a house? He goes, well, then they're more of a long-term nurture lead. I said, well, what do you do with them? He goes, they go on an email campaign. All right. I don't know how effective that's going to be, but what if they don't want to do anything at all? He goes, it's not really a lead, right? I mean, you can put them in your database, but we really need to focus on the people that are ready right now. And this is the encouragement I would give to everybody on this call is that we need to rethink ourselves what that is, so then we can turn around to the real estate community and say, look, every human being on the planet is a lead. The first thing we need to realize today is that we're selling a product. We're selling a product that people don't want. Right? Look at 21% say it's a good time to buy. Right? It's tied for last year for the worst reading in Gallup history. Right? 76% of Americans think it's a bad time to buy a home. It's the worst time ever. Right? This was just a month ago. So that means that 7 or 8 out of every 10 people that we're conversing with not only doesn't want to buy a home, but thinks it's a terrible idea or a terrible time to do it. If we understand that's our biggest hurdle, then we approach the consumer differently. So next, we're selling products that people don't understand. Right, 28 million Americans plan to purchase a home in 2024. On average, they want to spend $269,200. That's going to be tough, right? It's 100,000 plus short of the median home price of 388 back in December. Again, we have an undereducated consumer who thinks it's a bad time. 61% of Americans told pollsters that mortgage rates are unprecedented, meaning they've never been this high before. Right? We all know that's not true. Right? Over the last 50 years, 30-year mortgage rates have averaged 7.75%. So that means that we have a lot of work to do. And fundamentally, our job as mortgage advisors has changed. Right? Our job as mortgage advisors for the past, 2021 and the previous, 20 years was when someone decides to buy or sell or finance a home, we want to be in front of them. We want to, get that loan pre-approved. We want to close that loan with good customer service, and then we move on. Our job is different now, right? Our job is to remove fear, remove anxiety, help with undereducation, right? Work on influence, motivate people to make really tough financial decisions in the face of a lot of emotion. Right? If we go to our real estate professionals with that information and let them know we are that person for them, it's a very different shift. It's a dynamic change in the way they look at you as a business partner. So I'm going to walk through the 4 different types of leads, and then I'll explain kind of how we interact with each one of them here. So first type of lead, and this is the most common, right? If you ask any of your real estate agents, they'll tell you this is the most common conversation they're having. Do you want to buy or sell a house? Kind of want to buy, kind of want to sell, not sure, not ready, don't know if it's the right time, right? They get this over and over and over again. And it's largely the most mismanaged lead type in the business today, and we'll solve that. Next is the ready and pre-approved client, right? Do you want to buy or sell a home? Yeah, I'm ready, I'm pre-approved, let's go. This is everyone's favorite client. Right? But this is also mismanaged most of the time, and we'll explain why that is. Next is when you have the client that you've been working with for months, you've been working with for a long time, maybe they're pre-approved, maybe the realtor's shown them plenty of homes or talked to them about selling for many months. And then they go, you know what, we thought about it, and we read a bunch of articles and we're looking at the headlines, and it just doesn't seem like it's the right time. So we're gonna put the brakes on, right? We're not gonna do this right now. That is a energetic problem, right? Because we thought it was a lead, we thought it was moving down the right path, and then it stops, right? And that's one of the hardest things for any of us to deal with is the time and energy we put into that family, and then them making the decision it's not the right time. This is a real big problem because people really mismanage this one, right? And this is how you actually lose clients, right? Because this client will do something at some point, but if it's not handled the right way, they'll do it with someone else. And then lastly, the person who's just flat out not interested, right? This is the lady who walked into the open house and said, oh no, I'm just here to look. I'm not planning on buying or selling at all. right? Or when you talk to somebody at a networking event, at a party, at a social gathering, and you tell them what you do for a living, and they have zero interest, right? They don't say anything about buying or selling. They're not giving any buying signals, right? What do you do with that person? And this is where our industry struggles the most. Because the only time people engage with a real estate professional or mortgage professional is when they've already made the decision to buy, sell, or finance a home. Otherwise, they really don't want anything to do with us because they don't know what it is exactly that we do. Right. So we have to change that narrative, and we'll go through that here today. All right. So the first one. And again, I'm going to be giving this presentation to the real estate community. So look at it through that lens. So I would say, okay, Joe in the front row, right? You're a real estate professional. What do you do with a client who says, I'm not ready yet, I'm not sure? Like, how do you engage with them? Right. And then, when exactly do you do that? So the answers I typically get is, well, we'll tell them we'll follow up with them. We'll tell them we reach out to us when we're ready. Ask more questions, overcome objections. So this is not an objection you're trying to overcome. What it is an education challenge. Right. So the first thing you have to understand is the scripting that you use, right? This is really important. So the scripting that I would encourage you all to give, and I, have this later in the presentation, you can actually download these scripts, is I would say, if I'm the real estate professional, I'd say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I totally understand. It is a really interesting time in the market today. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of confusion in the media. But I want you to know, this may sound strange, so I apologize if it comes off wrong. I don't actually care if you buy or sell a home. Right? What I really genuinely care about is that you have all the information and education possible to make a really confident and informed decision. And it seems to me that you're probably not at that place. Would that be accurate? Like you haven't gone through a consultation to really understand your situation versus the market. Is that accurate? Client says, yeah, I haven't. Well, look, as your real estate professional, that's my goal, right? So what I would really encourage you to do is spend the time and just meet with our financing team. They're not going to try and pre-approve you. They're not going to try and run your credit. What they're going to do is they're going to educate you on how your decision will impact your long-term real estate and financial wealth. Right? They're going to give you all the information, education that you need. And then one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to confidently decide that now is the right time. And if not, then we'll just develop a plan and a strategy and a timeline. But either way, whatever comes from it, we'll know it comes from an educated, confident place. Would you be open to that? That script has changed my career. Right? I say it to my clients as a mortgage advisor, and my real estate professionals say it to their clients as the real estate advisor. And it removes all sales, right? It takes someone from who's not ready, and then when they're talking to a realtor, all the person thinks is this realtor just wants me to buy a house. That's just literally what their job is, just to convince me to buy a home. I'm not ready, so I'm going to disengage. You've removed that defense mechanism, right? You've lowered their armor. And now they're open to saying, yeah, I guess, it wouldn't hurt to just learn, right? If nobody's going to push me into anything, right? I would like to learn more, right? So understanding that script and then genuinely believing it, right? This is not a script that you practice so you can memorize. It has to be a belief system. And if we do that, our industry will be better off. Right? If we remove the outcome from the conversation, if the outcome is not something we're focused on, instead it's the journey, it's the education, it's the analysis, it's the planning, right? We'll help a lot more families. I promise you that. So what I'd recommend for you to do, right? Because again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Take your real estate agents through this process, right? Script it with them. Have them be the person who's not ready. And then don't stop at the end of the script when they say yes. When they do say yes, actually take them through your presentation. All right. So in the loan atlas, we have multiple client presentations, right? How to do the pre-purchase consultation. We have the bulletproof buyer presentation that helps, remove fear and anxiety and replace it with a confidence and excitement. So take them through that process and then ask them, like, if you were a client at the end of this, would you now be ready? Right? Would you now be confident? And when they experience it for themselves, they can turn around and genuinely believe what they're going to tell to their clientele. So this is how you engage with the not ready, not sure client, right? You just say, look, I don't care. It's okay that you're not ready, but it's not okay that you don't know, right? It's okay to not be educated and confident. It's not just okay to stay there. I think people will really be attracted to that. So next type is everybody's favorite, right? Someone who's ready, someone who's pre-approved. And I would ask the audience, right? If I'm presenting this to a group of real estate agents, I say, raise your hand if you have, quite a few pre-approved clients you're working with now, and the whole audience raises their hand. I said, well, raise your hand if you have, in the last 12 months, worked with a pre-approved client who didn't buy a home. And then almost every hand goes up. And I would say, well, why is that? And then they give me a bunch of, well, they're ready, they're pre-approved, right? Like they can buy a home. Shouldn't every single person who's ready and wants to buy a home and can buy a home, shouldn't they all own a home now? And the audience, of course, laughs. And I say, so tell me what's wrong with someone who's ready or pre-approved. And very few real estate agents have the answer to that. They're not sure. So my answer is someone who's ready or someone who's pre-approved knows that they can buy a home, right? They know it's possible. Someone has typed numbers into a computer and given them a piece of paper that says, you can buy a home, Josh. And Josh is excited about that until he gets into the real world, until he starts looking at houses and payments and down payments and out of pocket and cost to, fix the house up. Now he knows he can buy a home, but he's not actually clear if he should buy a home. Right. And this is the difference between someone who's ready and pre-approved and someone who knows, well, I know I can buy a home. And because I've met with my mortgage team, my financing team, they've showed me that I should buy a home. And then the last pivot here, and the most important part is, do they understand that they actually must buy a home? I say, raise your hand if you, of your pre-approved clients, that they know they should buy a home, not just that they can. A few hands go up. And I said, now raise your hand if you've had the conversation with your clients to where they know they must buy a home right now. No hands go up. I say the problem is you're working with a lot of people who can buy a home. They just haven't gone through the process to understand if they should or if they must. And that's why you're seeing them lowball offers. That's why you're seeing them not buy a home if it's not the home, right? If it's just a home. And this is where the majority of the problem lies, is that you believe that because they can, they will, but that's obviously not happening. So what do we do? Right, what are the steps to go from, okay, I can buy a home, the internet has told me that, to I must buy a home? And this is where I would really encourage you guys to, get in the Loan Atlas and use the tools that we have in our consultations. Our Bulletproof Buyer is really focused on helping the consumer understand the housing market, the data and the facts, right? Not just the headlines where people don't actually read the articles and the articles are misleading anyways, but a real strong understanding of the housing market. Using the Highway platform and all of the, tools that we have available to us in that platform, we use those all the time to show people where the housing market is headed, because that's the first hurdle, right? People don't want to buy a home if they're uncertain and they think the housing market's going to crash. So we need to remove the potential or the risk or the thought or the, any misleading information they're getting in the media. And we need to replace that with a bunch of really strong data that's not our opinion. And it really needs to come from us, right? Because it's like, you live in a place where it's 110 degrees. Of course, you're going to hear from the air conditioning salesman that you really need the air conditioner. The same thing's true for the house, right? They just inherently aren't going to believe a lot of the reasons that agents give for buying a home, because there's an inherent, disconnect between, if they don't buy a home, that agent doesn't get paid. Now, I've had plenty of consultations where, it's just me and the client looks around like the realtor might be in the room. Clearly they're not. And they go, do you really think it's a good time to buy a house? almost like I'll believe you, but I don't want to believe my agent, right? It's just a conflict of interest. So the better we are at using the highway platform and using the bulletproof buyer and using the information around the data and facts, we remove one of the biggest hurdles to, okay, I know I can buy home, and this makes me feel a little bit more certain that it's a good time. Second is personal economy versus national economy. This is why the consultations that we do are so incredibly important. People are so focused on the macroeconomics, right, and the headlines that they read. They don't actually take the time to figure out what their personal economy is doing and how that relates to their housing need. And this is where, showing them cost of waiting analysis, showing them move up, move down analysis, buy now, wait, like all these things that we have at our disposal, we need to be very intentional with showing them that. And I tell the clients, almost every client, the same thing is like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know you're concerned, right, about some of these big macro national economic factors, but has anyone taken the time to walk you through how your personal economy is doing and how that relates to your decision to buy, sell, or finance a home? And the answer is always the same. No, no one's taken the time to do that. Well, I thought you were pre-approved. Yeah, but they didn't help me understand anything about my financial situation. They just told me that I could buy a home. Right. So spending the time in the consultation, making sure they understand, showing them the full analysis of their decision is going to be really impactful to get them to realize, okay, I probably should buy a home now that I understand the housing market and I understand my personal economy. Next is competitive advantage. It's a really scary, unnerving, uneasy feeling to know that you have to write an offer over asking price and that you have to pay more for a home, or that interest rates and home prices are out of your control and you have to write multiple offers. People don't like that feeling, right? They don't want to feel like they don't have a bit of a leg up, right? So what we do with all of our clients is we tell them, look, we're going to make you look just like a cash offer and potentially even better. And we'll explain all the reasons of how we're going to do that. We're going to fully underwrite your loan in advance so you can remove your contingencies. We're going to explain our appraisal gap strategy, right? So you can remove your appraisal contingency with confidence. Just keep your inspection contingency, but let's close in 15 days. Let's remove everything else. We're going to look just like a cash offer, right? But we'll probably have a competitive advantage because when I call the listing agent, I'm going to explain that you and your family are going to live in that home, whereas most cash offers are investors and they'll find another property if they can save a couple bucks. Right. So we're going to allow you to essentially take a gun to a knife fight. Right. You're likely going to have a higher percentage of getting your offer accepted. I will show our clients our offer acceptance rate is sometimes north of 70%, right, depending upon the market or the time. If there's 10 offers on a home, that means they have a 10% chance. Right, so we want them to know they have the competitive advantage with us. Also, we're likely going to save you money on the price of the home, right? Because if you have loan contingency, appraisal contingency, if you need 30 days to close, that doesn't create a lot of confidence in the seller, which is why they're going to look at cash offers, and cash offers will win even at lower prices. So if we can make you look or feel or execute like a cash offer, you're going to save money on the price of that home. So now that client has a ton of confidence, right? They know they have a leg up. They know that they're not playing the same game as everybody else, and they know what happens if they miss out, right? So now they're getting to the must side of it, right? They know they should because of the data and the personal economy. Now they're getting into, okay, I know the housing market is late, and look, we can tell them very easily as rates drop, show them today's market move. Say as the rates drop, this brings way more buyers into the marketplace, which makes it even harder. And I'll tell a story to the clients that you guys can borrow or use or find your own version of it. But there's a family, a young couple that were just married back in 2018, and we had them pre-approved. They were looking for homes. They decided not to buy, and I was, okay, well, your decision. Call us when you're ready. And this is when I thought about my role in our clients' lives differently. It just so happened that in 2023, that same couple called and they said, Ryan, I just want you to know, we don't live in Orange County anymore, right? We had to move. We now live in Arizona because we couldn't afford to rent in Orange County anymore. We still have not bought a home, but we now have two kids and we really need to buy a house. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that is my fault. It's my fault that they didn't buy a home in 2018 because they only knew that they could buy a home in 2018. They didn't know they should, and I didn't express to them the importance of it, so they realized they must have bought a home back then. Right? So now they're going to buy a. They missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. They've been paying rent for 5 years. They had to relocate away from their family and schools and everything else. That was my responsibility. That's the story I tell to get people to realize what happens if they don't buy a home, right? And that's how I get them to realize, oh, I actually really have to buy a house. It's not really up to me. And the last thing is, let's make sure they know they're not alone for the next 30 years. One of the biggest reasons, if you poll people who could buy a home but didn't, as to why they aren't buying a home, is because they don't want the burden of homeownership and debt squarely on their shoulders for the next 30 years because they don't think they're qualified to handle it. So when we get to tell our clients, look, we're not just going to be helpful for the next 30 days. We're going to be the most valuable team of people in your life in every aspect of real estate or finance on a proactive basis for the next 30 years. Right? This is how we're going to help you every step of the way. Right? This is just step one of an infinite number of steps to becoming a really successful homeowner. And we're going to be there proactively for you every step of the way. That really reduces the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the lack of confidence that people have in managing all of this, on their own. This equation here, right, or this, mix of things that you're going to do for the client, it will take them from I can to I must. And when your realtors see that, right, if you can get your real estate agent to just ask them, like, hey, talk to me or send me one client who's been pre-approved with you for 90 plus days, right? They're pre-approved at XYZ Bank or whomever, and they're kind of pulling away from the market. That they're lowballing offers. They're not really serious. You can tell that there's something wrong. Refer that client to me and then sit in my consultation with me. And I want to show you how I'm going to take that client from they can buy home to must buy home. If you do that once or twice, you will be the only person that real estate agent ever thinks about getting a client in front of because they don't have that ability. Right. And in conjunction with you, they now can be seen as the person to give the client that confidence. All right. So now we're going to get into the third client, which is your client told you that, after thinking about it, it's not the right time. So they're going to wait. Most agents really mess this up, and most lenders mess this up, to be honest. Right? It's like, oh, okay, well, I know we've worked together for a while, but I'll follow up and let me know when you think it's the right time. And it's just it's not a great feeling. The client doesn't feel super supported. And look, it's not an easy decision for them to make. Right? They're still uneasy. They don't know if it's the right decision. But our strategy should be very similar to the I'm not ready client, which is very simple. Great. If you don't think it's the right time, first of all, I want to apologize for the fact that we didn't really help you make that decision sooner. But if you're making this decision now, that's totally okay. What I don't want to do, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, is I don't want to, just send you away for you to figure out when it's the right time. Because I promise you, it's nearly impossible for you to know that. Right? You're going to get a lot of conflicting information. You're going to get a lot of, news that gives you one thing and then gives you another. What I would recommend is let's create a plan, right, for how we're going to approach this. Let's create a strategy so we actually know when it is the right time, right, what it is you're looking for. And then let's create a timeline as to when we're going to, shoot to try and make this happen. I've seen people make the mistake of saying it's not the right time, and then years later, they still haven't engaged because they didn't have a plan, a strategy, a timeline. Every client should say yes to this as long as it's delivered in the right way. Like, oh, and they not only should say yes, but they should feel good about it because they don't feel good about pulling out, right? They don't feel good about thinking, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. They're uncertain too. This is all they've been looking for. And what I found personally, 50% of the time, roughly, when you do the plan, strategy, and timeline, they realize, oh, it's just going to get worse. Right. And then they re-engage and they're back in the market. Right. But this really happens typically when they don't go through that pre-purchase consultation, they don't go through the bulletproof buyer process, they don't go through the learning journey, that's when they're going to pull out. So then, if you're talking to an agent that is working with a client who didn't go through that, if this happens, you want this referral, right? You want to talk to your agents and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, or, agent community, if you ever hear not ready, not sure, or if you hear it's not the right time, or if you have a client decide not to buy or sell after working with you a while, please refer that person to me. And here's the script you use to do it. Because we're not getting those referrals today, right? We're only getting the referral when someone says, Josh, I'm thinking about buying a home and I need a mortgage. That's his cue to refer to you. Right? Or Josh, I need I want to sell a home and I'm not really sure. I probably need a mortgage for the new home. Great. That's their cue. Anything outside of that, you're likely not getting that referral, which means that you're not helping the buyer or the seller. You're not helping the agent. We have to have them completely rethink that you should be talking to every human being they're talking to, right? And then give them the script to be able to do it. And then lastly is the completely disinterested person, right? We're not planning on selling in the near future. Thanks for reaching out. Could be a cold call, could be a door knocking situation, could be a networking event, could be at an open house, right? Wherever the agents are engaging, this is my favorite question to ask. Right. So I have Sally in the front row at an event that I'm speaking at. And Sally's a realtor. And I say, Sally, what do you do if you meet somebody and you tell them you're a real estate agent and they go, oh, yeah, no, I'm not planning on doing anything, but that's great. How do you engage that person? What do you do? How do you get them into your database? How do you follow up with them? And I've never gotten anybody to give me a really solid answer. The best answers I get are I give them a business card and say, well, if you do ever need anything, reach out. That business card doesn't even make it to the car. I mean, it's going to be in the trash can before they get to the car. Because they're not in any frame of reference or frame of mind to engage with a real estate agent. And nobody keeps a bunch of business cards lying around. Right. So the strategy that we all need to be considering here is that when that happens, we need to adopt that person. And look, this isn't a new concept, right? We've been talking about adopting people's mortgages, right? We've been talking about, adopting people from a, planning perspective, but it's relatively new for the real estate community, right? Because what does the real estate community have to offer if somebody does not want to buy or sell a home? Not a lot. At least the mortgage industry has, some things we could offer, still not a lot. Right. But if you set your business up the way I'll show you here, you can adopt every human being on the planet. Right. You may help 20, 50, 100 families per year with real transactions, but you could adopt thousands and you could become the most valuable person in their life in every aspect of real estate or finance, more so than any realtor or lender they've worked with. And then all we do once we adopt them is we just start working with them on future planning. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is something from Barry and Dan's presentation that I wanted to show here, right? The fastest way to increase production is through your database. Now, your database includes adopted clients, right? It's not just closed transactions. It's anybody that you've had a conversation with that's really opting into your greater level of service. So clients who use the same originator on the next transaction, only 19% of the time are clients using their previous lender, right? And that's when there's no real consistent communication or contact. Well, that's a good and bad thing, right? It's bad if that's your client, but it's an opportunity if it's not, right? That means of the people you're adopting, there's 81% of them that aren't getting communication and they're going to use somebody else. You should be that person, right? You should step into that blank space above that bar. Now, 38% of clients will repeat or work with the same lender if they're getting consistent contact. So, recipes, don't forget to change your clock, stay in front of you, here's this, do that, home valuation, right? It's really top of mind type stuff, right? So, but it still doubles no contact, right? Or no communication. But that also means there's 62% of that population available for you to go adopt, right? And you be the one to steal that client away, right? Because you're going to show them the last bar graph, which is you're going to show them consistent contact and communication with value. And this is what I really want to focus on here today, because you can do it with any one of those lead types. You should do it with all the lead types. But this is where you're going to see a massive lift in your business, is you really want to audit what it is that you're sending or putting in front of your clientele so you don't become white noise. Right? If you just send them a bunch of emails and text messages and they get a bunch of things, they don't know why they're getting them. They don't really, they're not about them, right? They're about you as the originator or the realtor. Like, hey, don't forget about me. People don't want that, right? What they want is valuable information to them that will create a positive impact on their life. So this is what we're going to focus on here. There's a term in business called the transaction frequency spectrum. It is used to evaluate the value of an organization or the value of a company as it relates to their clientele, right? So you and I used to be forgettable, right? Because we are in the forgettable zone. Mortgage and real estate is every 7 to 10 years now. With interest rates higher and home values higher, people aren't refinancing as much. They're not moving as much. They're not buying as real estate at the same clip. It could have been maybe 2 to 3 years in the best of times, which is still in the forgettable zone. The only person worse than us is the mortician, who they use once. So the question is, how do we increase our rate of engagement and our rate of transaction frequency? And I believe that we are here in the habit zone. Right? I believe our team is used, our clients use our services daily, weekly, or monthly. And oftentimes when I say this to realtors and lenders, they say, well, people aren't buying or refinancing or getting a mortgage daily, weekly, or monthly. And my answer is always the same. They're definitely not. But if all they think of you for is the fact that they need to get a mortgage or buy a home, then you're always going to be in the forgettable zone. Right? But if they can use your services for other things, you can now move them to the habit zone. I'll show you what that looks like. Unfortunately, this is people's database. Right? You have names, phone numbers, and emails, but we don't know what they're thinking. We don't know where they're headed. We don't know what their goals are. We don't know what their challenges or problems are. We don't know what their activities or their struggles are. That's really just a phone book. Right? And I hear people say this all the time. I don't want to give up my database, or I don't want people to have my database. I promise you, everyone with any access to data already has your database. The question is, what do you know about your database that they don't? Right? How can you be proactive with your clients when everyone else is going to be reactive? And this is where you don't want to be seen as a loan officer. We want to fight so hard against someone saying, oh, yeah, Ryan's my loan officer. I don't ever want to hear someone say that. Right? What I want to be seen as a financial advocate, right? Somebody who helps my clients in every aspect of real estate or finance. It just so happens that my specialty and the thing that I'm, my genius zone is mortgage financing. And one way to do that is just help them with their banking. Right? A very simple question to ask. Josh, where do you have your savings and checking account right now? Oh, I have it at Bank of America. Okay, well, I'm not sure. Have you looked at what you're earning? It's probably not much in your checking and savings account. No, I haven't really looked. Well, the national average is 0.45%, but what I find in some of the larger banks is it's actually much lower, like 0.1 to 0.2%. Now, we happen to be part of an organization that has a bank affiliation. So our team is consistently talking to our clients, and we're helping them move their money from their checking and savings accounts that are paying nothing into high yield checking and savings accounts. And we're doing so, and even if you're not affiliated with a bank, Wealthfront is a really great tool. I use it personally. I know Josh uses it as well. They have a great savings rate, and they don't have a mortgage division. Right, so you're not going to be referring your clients over to a potential competitor. But the reason why this helps is I helped the client do this with our savings account. He's making $6,000 a year more, right? $500 a month. He had about $140,000 in a Wells checking account. And I said, look, before we do anything, let's get your money in to actually start making you money. And he goes, oh, how do we do that? And I showed it to him, moved it over. And now when we go to help that client with a mortgage, do you think that if I'm $100 off from the cheapest lender in the market, do you think he's really gonna bat an eye when I made him 500 a month? Right. And you can start to use a kind of a blended or effective rate conversation. Right. So let's say you make someone $200 a month, right? Let's say they have, you know, 40, 50, $60,000 in an account. You move it to a high yield account or help them do that. You know they're going to make $200 more, but you also use that as a part of your pre-approval to say, hey, look, your payment's 2,500, but remember you're making $200 more now, so it's really effectively 2,300, which means your effective interest rate that we're offering you because of how we helped you make money is really about 4.5 as opposed to 6.5. Right? Because remember, we just made you money over here that's going to offset this. Pretty hard for the low price leading lenders to beat a 4.5 effective interest rate. And this is a simple thing to do, but you have to ask the right questions. Right. And you could do this with people you're adopting. You could be with your past client database, and obviously anybody that you're working on pre-approvals on. So when you do this, the client doesn't say loan officer anymore. They think, oh, this person helps me in all these different ways. Right. And if you don't have a bank affiliation, use Wealthfront because there's no risk of that. Next is utilizing different services where they find value in. So, for example, we have an app that we use here, and this is an app that anybody could use, by the way. Any organization could sign up for this. It's through a company called FinLocker. But we highly encourage our clients to sign up for this at our pre-approval stage. We can talk them through it in post-closing. We try and get anybody that we adopt to get this set up on their phone, and then our client success team is constantly engaging with them, telling them to use it. Our emails are going out, but they're going to log in and they're going to see they're going to see their home values. They're going to see their bank's information. They're going to see their budget, and they're going to see you every time they do that. Right now, you can help them set their objectives in that system, right? And then you can see what percentage of the way they are towards those objectives. Right. You can set mortgage readiness where they're always approved for a mortgage at all times because it connects with their bank, their employer, and their credit. So they get to click a button and move all of their documentation and assets into your system. Right. So it kind of removes friction. Again, what you want them to do is be utilizing your service or your value on a consistent basis. It shows them their credit score on a monthly basis, right? Just does soft pulls through TransUnion. They can simulate their score right through the system. Right. So they can, if I want to open an account, close an account, change limits, change payment history, they can see exactly what that does. And people use this pretty consistently, right? They're at a department store and the person says, oh, do you want to open a credit card? Well, let me pull up my app and see what it'll do to my credit score if I do that. Right. Then they can make better decisions. If they're utilizing it for a budgeting tool, they should be in here daily or weekly, right? To see how they're doing on their budget, right? How they're doing at every category of their budget, and how that relates to their goal setting that they have. Right. So all of this, again, keeps you in the habit zone. Having an opportunity we have a home concierge service that we give to our clients. Again, a tool anybody could use. Right. But we're showing our clients maintenance reminders on a consistent basis, home improvement ideas. We store all their documents. We keep all their home inventory. You have service providers and appliance recalls for them. We're committing to them that we're going to help them increase the value of their asset, even if the market doesn't do it for them. Right. And this is something I tell everybody. Do you know the number one regret, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that people have when they buy a home is that they underestimate home maintenance, home repairs, and home improvements to the tune of $8,000 in the first year. I promise, as one of our clients, you won't be a part of that statistic. Right. We believe it's our responsibility to help you with all those things, and our home concierge is going to do that for you. Now, something that you want to be putting in front of them once a month, right? Some people use HomeBot, some people use other tools for this. The Highway team through List Reports has an incredible new thing that just rolled out called Home Report. And this is what I would consider like a digital interactive bank statement for somebody's home, right? So on a monthly basis, they're going to see their updated home valuation. They're going to see a forecasted home valuation, based upon forecasted growth appreciation that you see in the neighborhood market reports in Highway, right? You'll see all those in there. Now it's just going to be integrated in with List Reports. So somebody can log in and be like, oh, look, 5 years from now, my home's going to be worth $300,000 more. Like there's some planning that can and probably should happen around that. right? There's empty nest planning, there's move up, move down planning. There's a lot that can happen. And as clients are clicking into this, you're getting notified, right? You have a dashboard you can go in and you can see what clients are clicking on what, how they're engaging with it. And that's really kind of like your call list for the day. Right? Like if someone I see is continually looking at their home report and they're engaging with it and they're clicking buttons, I want to know that because I want to proactively reach out and say, hey, I see you're looking at it. What can we help with? Right? What are we planning for? You never want anyone to surprise you with their intentions. Right? So if we know what's happening in their life, if we know what's interesting to them, then we can help form that next goal, right? We can set that next strategy or timeline with them. But you also get to see equity and cash out opportunities, MI removal opportunities through the home report, move up purchase ideas. We know most of America feels pretty stuck in their home, but having them be able to move up and see what that would actually look like and then engage with you so you can help with that planning process. Again, you want to be really early in that. You don't want someone to call you and be like, hey, I've decided that I'm going to, sell my home and move up and buy another home and I just need a mortgage, right? That's the last call you want to get. It's not a terrible call, but it's not great because now you're on the defensive and they could use any lender they want. Term reduction strategies is built right into the home report. So people can go in and just see, hey, what if I'm making more money, should I add it to the principal, calculate savings? What does that look like? And then look, if they want to learn more, they can just contact you right there, or you could be alerted and start to reach out, be like, hey, I see you're looking at the savings calculator. Let me know how I can help. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a bad idea, and work with them on that. But having them get something like this, a digital interactive bank statement for their home on a monthly basis, is very much a forward-thinking commitment to the consumer that they're not getting from most people. Next is perfect mortgage promise. This is something that we commit to every single person, whether we adopt them or whether we close their transaction. We let them know, Josh, you are always going to be in the right home, in the right loan at the right time. Right? Here's a bunch of questions that you're probably not going to ask yourself. And here's all the answers that you're going to have to go through. We show them these questions and answers. And then I say, look, how confident do you think you'll be in answering these questions for yourself if you ask them? And almost every client says the same thing, not very. And I say, well, good thing is, you may think that's your responsibility. We believe it's ours. Right? So we're going to commit to ensuring you're always in the right loan at the right time. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set what we call a strike rate or a strike payment. Strike payment is actually better because, excuse me, they're actually going to be looking at a new payment. So as soon as the transaction closes, we want to set up the refinance based upon, hey, Josh, if I save you $100 a month, is that worth it for you if there's no cost, right? If we cover all costs of everything. Yeah, great. Or no, not really. What about 150 or 200? You want to know what makes sense for them to go through the process again if there's no cost. And then you set that payment, you correlate it with the interest rate, and then just utilize your system to go in. You can use Optimal Blue or whatever system you use to go in and set that strike rate for the client. Because when 6.5 shows up, team, the last thing you want to do is be on your heels, okay, and wondering, okay, who should I call? When 6.5 shows up, you should just have a report from your pricing engine that says, here's all the locks you need to lock today. Right? And you've already gotten the commitment from the consumer, right? Because you've already showed them the analysis and they've agreed to it, right? They can even sign a document that consents to you updating their credit report at that time. Because when rates go down, all you want to do is just credit report, credit report, credit report, lock, 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 right? That's the strategy when this happens. But you have to have that conversation with them as a part of the perfect mortgage promise. Life events, data and alerts. There's most of your companies are going to have data alerts, right? They're going to have trigger alerts. They're going to have alerts when, there's a death, a divorce, a move up opportunity, an empty nest opportunity, marriage. Like this is where big data has an advantage over most independent mortgage professionals, is that they use this big data as predictive and they can get in front of the clients. This information is out there. Like you guys can have access to it. And this is where when I tell someone we're going to be the most valuable person in their life, I believe it because I'm going to know what's happening in their life. And then I can reach out and help them navigate those changes and evolutions appropriately. Equity alerts, something that, you can get through home report, something you can get through multiple different opportunities. But, Josh taught us all this really well. One of the best calls he makes is calling someone and just congratulating them on their home equity. Be like, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but did you know that from the time you bought this home to now, this is what it looks like? And then you start the planning process. Do you know what that means? Do you know what the opportunities are? Do you know how we can help you with that? And lastly would be any mortgage inquiries, right? Anything that's happening, we want to make sure you're getting credit alerts. This is definitely more reactive, right? Kind of on your heels at that point because they're already kind of looking at mortgages with other people, but definitely something you should still know, right? To be able to step back in and help them. So all these things are a part of the Perfect Mortgage Promise. Oh, sorry, and then credit improvements. Credit improvements you can get from multiple sources as well, but you definitely want to make sure if you're using credit improvement vendors or if you're using third-party companies, if you're using the app that I showed you, all those things will show credit improvements, which again is just an opportunity to help that client in the next phase. So I'll end up with saying here, we call this data bank, not database, because of how much that data is worth. Average homeowner now is going to move every 10 years. That means 10% of your database or data bank is going to move every year. Same thing with the refinance statistic. So look at your data bank and ask, like, how am I predicting the client's decision? And the key is just to be very much in front of it, right? Don't wait for the consumer to call you. Make sure you have everything in front of them, whether you adopt them or whether you're helping them as a closed transaction. So then go to your agents. The takeaway from this or the implementation from this is take this presentation, right? We'll have this in Alice. I'm not sure if it'll be sent out or how that'll work, but you can have access to this presentation, go rebrand it with your information and give this presentation to as many agents as you can. Because the first step to us helping more families in a more comprehensive, proactive way is for people to know that we don't just close loans when they need them, that we help with planning, we help with strategy, we give advice. Even if somebody never gets a loan, even if somebody never buys a house, right? They can come to the mortgage industry, right? To the mortgage professionals of the future, and they can have a plan, they can have a strategy, they can have a timeline, right? Without any fear of, being sold. And your agents have to know that's what you do. And they need to see the impact that'll have on their business because that's the biggest way they're going to do that. So I would ask, what's the first step you're going to make to improve, to be better here? My recommendation is present this to your agents, get their commitment that they'll refer you every human being that they talk to. And feel free to follow me on Instagram if you want, Real Ryan Grant. We do a lot of content around this concept of how the mortgage professional of the future should act and what it should feel like and how the consumer should engage. So, Josh, I'll let you take it from here, man. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. I know there's a lot of questions in the chat that I didn't get a chance to get to.
Hey, great job. Will you just bring down your screen share for just a minute, and then I'll give you a sec to breathe, and you can answer some of those questions. We all know this for sure, RG. You didn't get to be the #1 lender in Orange County by accident. It's incredible how intentional you are around creating a different experience for your clients, and then by virtue of that, that becomes your unique selling proposition because now you get to teach realtors how to partner and share in that value proposition. So kudos to you, man. Great job.
Thanks.
Team, I just wanted to take a minute here in closing and tell you a little bit about the project that Tim Brahim, Ryan Grant, and myself and 15 other faculty members have been working on for the last year and a half called the Loan Atlas. And we really created the Loan Atlas to accelerate your journey from wherever you are today to the success that you want to be having. Ryan mentioned we just came back from the mastermind event. And in that event, I met someone who was $1 million a year gross commission income producer, who is now one of the lowest producers in his entire branch and company. And at the same time, I met somebody who'd been in the industry for over a decade. And last month, she had the #1 production month she'd ever had in the industry. And as I thought to myself, and I compared those two people, I said, what's the difference? What's the difference from the person that was at the top of the mountain and now they feel like they're at the bottom? And the woman I met who is at the top of the mountain in 2024, having her personal best. And what I walked away from that experience realizing is one is willing to do the work. One is willing to evolve and learn and act as if she was a brand new loan officer in our industry, even though she'd been at it for a decade, and the other one wasn't. So I want to share my screen just really quickly and show you a couple of quick things that might be helpful. This is the homepage of the Loan Atlas. but I wanted to show you the learning paths, because what Ryan just basically taught you is what we call a module. It is a very in-depth training session that comes with a PowerPoint presentation and an action plan to help you increase conversion. But that's just one module. If I go into the learning path of, it says the sales engineer learning path is about mastering your sales process to increase conversions. So there's 5 modules like Ryan just taught underneath System for Selling with Tim Brahim. There's another 6 modules, Mastering Sales by Tim Brahim. He talks about adopting a loan, some of the same things that Ryan just talked about. There's 7 modules from Ryan Grant about objection scripts and how to overcome scripting. This guy, there's nobody better in the industry at, the script to answer, what's your rate? Why should I work with you? What's the difference between you and using my bank? These are scripts that Ryan teaches in these modules. And then Tyler Osby teaches 7 modules, how to counter objections masterfully. So if you are like many, that you don't have mastery over conversion, or perhaps your conversion isn't as good as it used to be, this is where you would want to start. This is the learning path that the Loan Atlas members would want to follow. So let's get into that. Ryan mentioned that he created a bunch of scripts. Actually, Ryan, let me just pull this down for just a second, bud. Do you want to share your QR code? And then we can probably, everybody else, you know what would be easier, RG? Yeah, that's great. If you'll share that. And also, Megan, thanks so much. You dropped this into the chat for everybody. But we wanted to make a very special offer for everybody who attended this session. Typically, the Loan Atlas is $349 a month. And it does require a year commitment for the program. It is reduced by $100 a month to $249 a month, or you can prepay it, and then essentially you get 12 months for the price of 10. But the MBS Highway team has also kicked in an incredible incentive, which is that this includes, if you're to sign up as a part of this special offer, and you need to sign up by June 17th at midnight, you'll receive your CMA certification included if you're a non-CMA member. If you already are an existing CMA member, then your next year's renewal will be covered as a part of joining the Loan Atlas. So
and
inside
Josh,
the loan,
just
yeah,
to quickly mention, we normally sell that for just under $2,000, so that's included in the cost.
Yeah, it's like a 2 for the price of 1 almost. I mean, it's a massive discount. And look, we have created inside of the Loan Atlas effectively the MBA for the mortgage industry. You combine what we've created in terms of knowledge, sales, leadership inside of the Loan Atlas with the CMA certification. There is nobody more prepared and able to face this market. I'm going to quickly just go back to sharing my screen real quick, RG. Thank you for that.
Yep.
So team, if you follow the QR code, you're going to land on this page. You're going to be able to download the success scripts. Ryan, you want to say anything about these scripts just real quick?
Yeah, my favorite one is, giving your realtors a new script for the NAR settlement. On August 17th, they're going to have to get someone to sign a pretty important document, and they're going to need to be able to explain their value. It's one of my favorite things to talk about right now, and real estate agents absolutely love it. So I think, there's a bunch of really great ones, but that one's probably going to be the most impactful over the next 2 months.
And those are absolutely free to you. If you want to download those, please use them and execute them. And then lastly, if you want to take advantage of the bundle with Loan Atlas, the $100 a month discount, and the bundle with CMA, you can do that right there. So RG, with that, I will turn it over to you and Dan for the closing words, but spectacular job today.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say thanks for coming on, guys. Ryan, Josh, you too, you guys are so well scripted. And I love how you take a lot of the principles that we believe in and talk about on MBS Highway and really make it applicable to what our customers and what mortgage professionals are doing in their day-to-day lives, and how they should take some of this information and really present it to be successful. So I always love your guys' strategies and ideas. The offer on Loan Atlas is fantastic. A lot of people from the last call that you were on, Josh, have signed up and are loving it. So thank you guys for coming on. And I saw a couple quick questions on the home report. By the way, guys, that's a new tool that we rolled out just this past week. And it is something that is a replacement for or a competitor to, let's say, like a HomeBot or a Home IQ. Those are great tools. But we have this in our ecosystem. If you're on list reports, we have all the transactions, so we can very easily say, hey, you just close this loan, add it to your home report to market to them automatically. And also it has our data, and we have some data out there that nobody has, and can maybe uncover some new opportunities with things like our forecasted appreciation in every single zip code. So just wanted to answer that.
And I want to answer a few more questions. First off, thank you. Ryan, one of my favorite things about you is I think that you embody what every single mortgage professional and real estate agent needs to embody. And you said it at the beginning of this webinar, there has to be a belief, right? We need to believe that we are here to help individuals. And I think that if anyone just adopts that mindset, it's going to change your business, and it's going to change your life and give you purpose. So thank you for showing up, both of you, for showing up in this space the way that you do. Now, many of you attending this call, you have been asking about the recording. Yes, you will get the recording. It will be sent to your email. You can also find it on the MBS Highway YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe and like us. And with that, the other questions have been kind of answered here. If you guys are part of Loan Atlas, you will find the scripts in the resources section. There were a lot of questions regarding that. And, with that, I just want to say thank you for your guys' time, and thank you for everyone joining us here today.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you guys all for being here.
We appreciate you guys always bringing the value. So thank you,
Yeah.
team.